sports betting product, odds and local market fit.
We are having our section, our panelists of team, which are experts in the field. So our panel is sport betting, products, odds, and local market in Africa. So my name is Adeleye Awakan. I am an iGaming consultant, founder CEO of AA Advisory, and also FIMO Africa. So I will leave it to the panelists to also give a brief introduction of themselves. And so the floor is yours, Miranda.
Hello, I'm Miranda Guliashvili, Head of Regional Growth at SoftSwiss, covering several regions, one of them being Africa. And happy to be here and excited to talk about the thing that I'm not very specialized in, but it seems very interesting.
Hi there, I'm Brenton Chillen. I'm the Head of Product at Sportingbet South Africa. Been in the iGaming market for about 15 years across various marketing and product roles. And my product scope covers everything from casino to payments, and a particular passion point of mine being sports betting.
Hi everyone, my name is Matt Barker. I'm the Regional Head of Africa for Genius Sports. Genius Sports is primarily a sports data feed provider. We work with some of the biggest brands and operators across the continent, including Sportybet and BetPower. Previously, I worked at Entain, which you may be familiar with from running the Sportingbet brands, and also Ladbrokes and Coral.
Okay, thank you. So my first question, I will ask you, Miranda. So Africa is often regarded as big opportunity and has big potential, and so many people have their opinion about Africa as a whole. So from your own perspective and from your understanding, we have different betting behaviors across the region, and and from your own thinking, if you think if an investor is coming to the market today, and what do you think is the biggest product mistakes new entrants are having in Africa today?
Yeah, I'll start evaluating the Africa as like one of the first things that they make the mistakes while entering the market or choosing this market. They think that this one continent is the one country or something like this, and they approach the region as very much stereotypical thing, when in reality the market responds very negatively to the stereotypical thinking in general. So I would say this one is the first thing that they see towards this market. Otherwise, this is my favorite market. It has big potential. All of the countries that are in Africa, starting with South Africa, which is a very mature market for the gambling industry, finishing with, I don't know, Nigeria or Kenya, all of them are totally different. They need their own approach. You cannot repeat what you are doing in South African region, in Kenya, for example, especially in a world where the payment solution defines, I believe, the effective cooperation. You need to have totally different approach. That's the main thing. You cannot copy-paste, not even South Africa, and especially you cannot do the same things as you're doing the European markets or even Latin American markets, even though some of the strategies are kind of similar. You need to take every country with each own strategy, treat it differently, and even there will be like some small countries compared to, I don't know, Nigeria or Kenya, they have their own potential. If you give a little chance, everyone who is willing to enter the market will directly see.
Interesting. So I think you've really diverged into the African market. So let me ask Brenton, from your own understanding, definitely the Africa, it's a market, like Miranda has said, you have to adapt to each market based on its own approach and understanding. So if you can share more insight from your own understanding, what do you think are the biggest mistake someone who is looking to come into the market, biggest product mistake you think they can have from your own operator part?
Yeah, so I agree with Miranda. You can't just take a copy and paste approach across all of Africa. Even if you are a successful operator in other markets such as Europe or LATAM, you can't just simply take your product and bring it into a market and hope that it's going to be successful. Each of the different markets have their own idiosyncrasies, South Africa, if we look at Africa as a whole, football from a sports betting perspective is a big driver. But then when you come into South Africa, yes, football is always going to be number one, but there are, secondary sports that play just as an important role in the ecosystem. And if you don't cater to a customer that wants those things, then you're giving them a reason to perhaps go somewhere else and bet at another provider that will give them what they want.
Okay, thank you. Interesting. So, Matt, I'm going to come from a different question for you. So, because we have the biggest competition this year, which is the World Cup coming up in a couple of months. I think we have 98 or 97 days to count down to the World Cup. So, from the data feed part of the business, which your business is all about. So, what do you think will separate promotions from operators to maximize acquisition and retention during the tournaments?
Yeah, no, very excited for the World Cup. I think it's going to be really big for the whole continent. More African nations represented in this World Cup than ever before, which is super exciting. I think it's going to be huge for the betting market. I think operators are going to do a big acquisition push, but I think it's much more about thinking long-term and how you actually keep those customers post the World Cup. Anyone can run bonuses and acquire players, but how do you actually keep them, differentiate from competition post the World Cup and leading into the new football season? Stuff like having the best pricing, other features such as bet builders or player props or fast markets. These are all things that customers want and are going to be crucial to set yourself apart from other operators and ensure you can capitalize on the importance of the World Cup, but also run with that and benefit into the major football seasons.
Thank you so much. Perfect. So, Benton, do you have anything you want to add on that regards in terms of the next biggest competition coming up, which is the World Cup, and what do you think from the operator part? What do you think sporting bets will do differently, and what do you think how to maximize the retention and engagement process?
Yeah, I think from a retention perspective, it's about being involved in the big moments, not only around the World Cup and try and capitalize on that, but there's huge moments leading up to the World Cup. We've already had the draw in December. People are already at that point thinking about outright markets, what markets are they going to bet on. If you can get a player in at that point in time when there's not a lot of competition in the market, then that player is likely to be retained and take their bets during the World Cup with you. So, just yesterday was 100 days to the World Cup. Bafana released their jersey for the World Cup. Being involved in those different touch points and people, or putting your brand in front of people's minds then is going to assist when it comes to crunch time, when the World Cup actually comes around and people are looking at where they are actually going to place their bets.
Interesting, perfect.
I might contribute to this question as well, because I think it's a very interesting thing from the product perspective, because I believe the retention of the players that are coming from during World Cup through the sportsbook, it's not only the sportsbook part, but product perspective from the casino side, for example, you need to have very unified ecosystem inside your company, let's say.
Okay.
So there is a need of sportsbook and casino to be aligned with each other in a way where the player does not have any obstacles. If they want to, there is a breaks, right, during the matches. So if they want to have an entertainment, casino managers or sportsbook managers, they need to think before World Cup starts and prepare some, I don't know, maybe something in a bet slip position or under it, so for them to have like a better entertainment during short breaks, especially talking about this market where exactly, I agree totally that this is not about the football, only. There is a cricket, there is a rugby. So while you will concentrate on the World Cup, people need to think about the long run as well. And for this retention, during this time, once they will find the players, they need to give something so they can stay. And I believe casino manager, they exactly know which games are good for the retention. So they need to somehow show during this period and gain this attraction. So for them to keep those players.
Okay, very good. I think from what Miranda just elaborated, now I think you are trying to let us understand that there is also the part where by doing the World Cup, definitely they are going to be like doing the halftime break. Definitely there are also some other areas of games that you can push out there to retain your customers so they would like keep engaging and having entertainment along the line, so, which is perfect. Thank you for that. So I would also have a question now. The next question will go to Martin. So definitely, and this is all about the bet builder. And so bet builder and player props are gaining huge traction globally. And so looking at Africa and the tools driving the re-engagement and what you think Africa can do to the futures African can do in terms of small segments of bettors and things like that. What do you think in that regard?
Yeah, sure. I mean, Bet Builder is not necessarily a new product. I mean, it's been around for many years. We actually helped launch one of the first Bet Builders with Sport Pesa and Jenga Bets. We've got our own solution now across in-play and pre-match. I think the quality of it depends and the effectiveness depends on the markets. You know, some markets are going to be more effective than others. A Bet Builder in a retail-led market probably isn't going to perform as well as a market like South Africa, where it's very, very much online and you've got customers engaging pre-match and in-play. I think the addition of fast markets and player props within Bet Builders is going to be crucial, and I think we're going to see a big boom of that during the World Cup as well. So Bet Builders are huge, we all know that, but I think they've still got growth to go, and it's still not probably at the level that we've seen across some European markets at the moment.
Thank you. So do you want to add something else? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree that Bet Builder has been in the market for a while. Globally, it is very well talked about around these big events, the Champions League final, the World Cup. But what we've seen in South Africa is the uptake hasn't been quite as dramatic as what we've seen globally, where about 10% of bets are being placed on Bet Builder pre-match, where globally it's as much as 50%. So there's a lot of education that still needs to happen before we see the uptake, and also the way in which Africans are betting. They like to take multiple bets. So it's not about just having same game parlays or bet builders on one game. It's about how can I string those together in other games. So Sportingbet released a product called Bet Builder Plus, which allowed that to happen, and we've seen far more uptake on the same game parlays just off the back of that, because people are becoming more familiar with the product that they actually want to use in this particular market.
Yeah, interesting. So, I want to ask you on Bet Builder as well. So, from product part and product perspective, so you have so many features like cash out games and things like that. But Bet Builder, I think it has not gotten to that level like cash out, which is quite popular in Africa. What do you think is really happening, and what do you think can be done to that effect?
Yeah. So the sportsbook side of the industry is quite interesting for me because it's kind of new. So I'm excited to bring my own perspective, which is like for the audience that doesn't know what the bet builder is. I will say that you can tell me if it's correct or not. Basically, it gives the players opportunity to place in the same match with the several outcomes, not only the goals, but basically the corners or the cards, which is even more engaging for the players. So they don't just simply wait for like just the player to score the goal, but basically everything. So you're fully watching the match. And for me, it's kind of similar to, and the main thing is for the African market, for the South African market in general, is that you can place very low amount of the money, and in general, if the outcome is correct, you will have like big win, let's say. And for me, this kind of resonates with the crash games somehow, because you, with the lower amount of the bet, you can actually catch big multiplier. And as on this market, the crash game is dominating the section. Yeah. And this was, I believe, South Africa especially, this was one of the first markets that accepted the crash game vertical for good cross-sell product to the sports. And not only, I believe, can be like a room of a better expansion of the bet builder feature, because you have this feeling from the player's perspective or from the bettor's perspective. I believe you already have this feeling of familiar, and it can be easy cross-sell, especially as the generations are changing and they want something very engaging and also fast with a lower amount of the bets. That's my perspective on that.
Yeah, so perfect.
Yeah, if I can just follow on there. Yeah, I mean, I think you're 100% spot on with, the African market looking for bigger multiple bets. They're looking for big payouts. And then, bet builder functionality, you mentioned cash out. Yeah. If you don't have the cash out functionality tied into your bet builder, people are looking to build these bets with large potential payouts, but they also want the cash out functionality as well. So if you don't have that built into your bet builder, then there's just going to be less uptake as well. So it's definitely a product consideration when you are developing bet builder. You need to be able to track that bet through the match as it's happening and allow players to cash out should they want to.
Interesting.
Yeah, 100%. I'd agree with that. And I think there's one thing having a bet builder, and there's another thing having a proper market-leading bet builder. If you can offer in-play, if you can offer pre-match, if you can offer cash out, if you've got relevant markets that customers can build that bet that they actually want, it makes a complete difference to just offering a bog standard bet builder. And I think the casino element that you mentioned, Miranda, is really key. The gamification of sport betting and almost linking it into the casino side is crucial. I have conversations every day with operators saying, yeah, we're not really focusing on sports betting at the moment because casino makes up 80% of our revenue. But sports betting really is where you can differentiate, acquire customers, and you get higher margins as well across the sports betting side in general, especially with a bet builder, which is a high margin product. So the more traffic, the more engagement you can get on this particular product, it's a win-win for operators.
Yeah, perfect. So I think you guys have really nailed this question. So now let me go to this question, and I think it has to do with South Africa, and particularly South Africa, we have the secondary sports, which is the rugby, cricket, tennis, basketball, and combat sports. So player play, how important is deep coverage in this sport for long-term retention compared to football in terms of retention? So I will ask Martin from this operations side.
Yeah, sure. Look, football's crucial in the market, but so is cricket, so is horse racing. There are other sports that are key to operate a successful business in South Africa. I think football's key to acquisition, but a wider sports offering is key to retention. You can't just offer football. You need to have multiple different sports to successfully run here. I mean, I think Brenton as well will be well positioned to speak about this from specifically the South African market perspective.
Yeah, so I mean, you mentioned something with regards to the bet builder, where having a bet builder, there's bet builder, a bog standard version, and then there's bet builder that has all the bells and whistles and the functionality. And the same goes for offering cricket betting or offering rugby betting. You can offer those markets and you can have a match winner and you can have a handicap, but how many handicaps lines do you have? Do you offer flexibility? So if a player wants to take on less risk or more risk, are they able to do that on your book? And that's going to determine, the breadth of your product, but also whether somebody's going to decide to bet rugby with you or bet cricket. And, you may have a good football product, and you may be lacking elsewhere. Your retention rates are going to take a knock off the back of that, and you just don't want to give people a reason to go and look at another operator.
This is where the bet builder is also key to this aspect of the product in terms of the secondary sports by interweaving those product games together. So, Miranda, do you have anything you want to add to this?
Not just I think the guys said everything, but basically in a world where the prediction markets are trending right now, the football basically is not enough, even in South Africa and outside of South Africa as well. Diversification is very important because, again, there will be World Cup. This period will be really high with the new depositors, new registrations but after that, you need to have something that you can also rely on, and you can have diversification, which is exactly the cricket or rugby, or even now the formulas, the people bet on formula, right? And you need to have everything, every possible sport, horse racing, one of them. In South Africa, I think it's very popular. So I would say diversification is the key.
It's key. Yeah, definitely. As an operator, you have to consider diversification, because during the off-season, you also have to look at other sports you can incorporate into your product and see how you can retain your customers and engage them during this off-season. So I think we are running out of time, and so definitely we'll keep the floor open for questions. And so if there's any question or any question from the panelists, definitely the floor is open for your questions. Anybody who has a question can easily ask the panel. So, we have a question. So I think definitely we are out of time. So we have 27 seconds. I think that should be it. So everyone will say thank you for coming, for attending this session. We really appreciate for waiting here and understanding from the panelists, and I appreciate. Thank you so much. Sigma, thank you.
Yep.